Welcome everyone to the call, and thank you so much for taking time. Thank you, Mike, for being here. I'm very excited to have a discussion with you. For everyone's information, Mike Bosworth is a sales master. He has co-authored three books. One is Solution Selling, and he is also the founder of Solution Selling. He also co-authored Customer Centric Selling, and his latest book is How to Sell Through Emotional Connections: The Power of Storytelling. And I'm Pianpian, founder and CEO of Amotions AI. At Amotions AI, we help sales teams reduce ramp-up time, increase productivity and performance with an emotional intelligent AI sales teammate that can listen in sales calls live, providing in-call suggestions and insights and coaching as well as afterward. And we also have an AI that can practice and do role play, get people prepared for a call as well. So thanks again for being here. Thanks, Mike, for joining the call. And curious, what's the reason that you think it's important to build emotional connections with buyers? And the first time I kind of talked to you or read more about the Emotional Connections book, I was like, wow, this is very aligned with what we're building at Amotions AI, because we are trying to bring more emotional intelligence to salespeople, to AI, and to the world to help people connect better with who they're interacting with. So yeah, curious to hear kind of what's your journey from solution selling, customer centric selling, and now to kind of selling through emotional connections.
Well, the emotional connection is the common thread. It took me a lot of years to realize that the primary difference between the 20% of enterprise salespeople who bring in 80% of the revenue and the other 80% who barely bring in 20% of the revenue, the primary difference in skill set between those two groups is the intuitive ability to emotionally connect and build trust. It's intuitive. And it really is just EQ. And so the primary difference between spectacular salespeople and regular salespeople is EQ, their intuitive ability to build emotional connection and trust. So as a sales trainer, my goal has always been to try and the top 20% salespeople are doing fine. They don't need you or me or anybody else to help them. The bottom 80%, the primary reason they struggle in sales is their inability to intuitively, emotionally connect and build trust. A lot of them are very left brain people. They're financial executives. They're technical executives, engineers. I mean, engineers as a stereotype. How many people like being married to engineers? Not very many, because they're shitty communicators. They don't speak their feelings and stuff like that. And the whole knock on AI so far has been, it's really smart, but it doesn't process feelings or emotions or stuff like that. And that's why when Pianpian and I first started talking, I was intrigued by the path she was taking. Can we teach AI to process more emotions and feelings, human feelings? But back to the problem of the bottom 80%, the solution for helping a geek enterprise salesperson, maybe he's a PhD in chemistry. I mean, maybe he's an electrical engineer, or maybe she's a financial wizard or whatever. But the only way to teach people like that to connect is to give them a tool that they can learn to use. And that tool is storytelling. And so we've been teaching people now since 2008 to begin an appointment with a buyer. Not people, I mean salespeople we train. And most of the salespeople we train struggle with that emotional connection and building trust because they don't do it intuitively. They're not in the lucky 20%, they're in the unlucky 80%. Is we teach them to offer the buyer persona they're calling on a story. So if Seth, if you were an insurance executive and I were to make some kind of a sales call on you, and maybe I'm an underwriter and maybe I have a real geeky insurance background, right? And which makes it hard for geeky salespeople struggle with sales, even though they're really smart and they have high character and stuff, they struggle with emotional connection. And so I would teach that salesperson to say, so Seth, I see you're an executive vice president of your insurance company here. Can I share with you a quick story about another senior executive in an insurance company I've been working with lately? What would be my hit rate offering that? You're muted, Seth. I can't hear you.
I said sure, but I was being polite.
No, but people have pure curiosity. So that's the whole idea. If you have no reason to distrust them, but they just haven't bonded with you yet,
Mm-hmm.
then if they offer you a story about one of your peers that they've already worked with, the hit rate on that is about 99.9% because people are extremely curious about their peers. And so I never, as a salesperson, I was selling material planning systems in the early 70s. I never had one single manufacturing executive or materials manager turn down an offer of a story about one of their peers ever.
I think your delivery had a lot to do with it too. You weren't aggressive in your approach. So
Well,
immediately I
that's the
just
whole
naturally said,
thing.
sure.
But most of these enterprise salespeople aren't aggressive type people. They just don't connect real well. They're honorable. They're not trying to take advantage
Mhm.
of you. They're really smart. They work hard. But
Mhm.
and then the nature of people who sell, and they all know this, is that most of us have all come away from previous experiences with salespeople where we felt like we wanted to take a shower. They were pushy, they were aggressive, they were using hyperbole, they were making our skin crawl. And the vast majority, well, I used to ask people in my in-person classes, enterprise classes. We trained 15,000 IBM salespeople in the mid 90s. At the very beginning of the class, I say, how many of you in this room had a mother that had a vision for you, her child, that you would grow up and become a salesperson? Raise your hands. Guess how many hands go up? None. Their mothers wanted them to be dentists or doctors or consultants or accountants, something honorable, not salespeople. So people in general have an aversion to salespeople. And the best way, we call that discovery resistance. In other words, they're not ready for you to do discovery on them yet. And
Mhm.
yet, the primary skill of solution selling is intelligent discovery. And that's why I painfully learned after many years that the majority of enterprise salespeople, 80% of the people who went through solution selling, working for IBM, quit using it within 2 weeks of the workshop. And the reason is we weren't teaching them at the get-go how to start to break down that discovery resistance and get the person across the desk to say, oh, I judged him because he's 20 years younger than me, but he really does understand how hard my job is. And, I didn't think that she would have any expertise in material control, but she's helped my competitor less than a mile away solve a problem I haven't been able to solve yet. So in other words, if we can teach them a great, what we call customer hero story, but they still have to ask for it.
Yeah.
And if they say no to the offer of a story, I'm gone. My sales call didn't even last 30 seconds. But I never, ever had a prospect say, no, Mike, I don't want to hear a story about another materials manager or another VP of finance or another CFO. Pure curiosity in the enterprise is big.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mike. I think we talked a little bit about in the beginning that Seth and other sales leaders looking at like their ways to help salespeople, like what's the role of AI. So,
Well, you haven't let me get there yet.
yes. Would you like to share your thoughts about?
I have an idea. I want to now use AI on this problem because we've had this problem solved certainly since 2008, as far as we need to teach the high IQ, low EQ human beings who are on quota how to use peer stories to break down discovery resistance and get that buyer to trust them enough to allow them to do discovery. And the problem is managers hate role-playing stories with their salespeople. Managers hate coaching. And salespeople hate to be coached. The reason they went into sales is they wanted a job where they can wing it. Sales is the only highly paid profession where the professionals don't want to practice. If you're a professional golfer, you practice. If you're a professional therapist, you've got to do so many hours a year to keep your skills up. So salespeople, they go into sales because they like to wing it. And the ones who are really high EQ, they do very well. But we can take the IQ, EQ model a little further. I believe that only 20% of every profession have natural connectors. 20% of teachers are great. 80% are boring. They lose the room. Politicians, doctors, the doctors who get rich are the ones who connect with their customers and have the rare high EQ that most doctors don't have. So the whole world needs to practice telling stories in an emotionally present, connecting way. And since human managers hate role-playing those stories, an AI that can give them role-play practice and then give them feedback on not just the content, but the emotions, that could be a killer product, I believe.
Yeah, yeah. As you're talking,
now,
Mike,
you built it, right?
We have the AI that can role play and practice with salespeople or other roles, and we have an AI that can listen in a call, give feedback on kind of understanding how the other person is feeling, giving suggestions on how to ask better questions, or what are the ways to phrase, kind of what are the right thing to say at this moment to in order to connect better with the person, in order to empathize with the person better, but also build better connections. So it's like what we have is the AI role play, but also coaching and feedback live during a call, and it's available, the insights available after the call as well.
So now,
Right. Yeah.
Pianpian has the infrastructure to build that,
Mm.
but she hasn't built it yet because the only way you can have, the only way practice can be perfect for a salesperson is if it's perfect practice. And we haven't figured out a way yet to teach the AI what the perfect story looks like.
Hmm.
I mean, we know how to do it, but that's not going to be a simple thing. You're not
Yeah.
just going to have AI record a salesperson telling a story and give any kind of decent feedback. That's not happening. We the only perfect practice makes perfect. So we have to be able to teach the AI the finer points of the story, just like we teach human beings. And so, Pianpian, we haven't taught any AI the finer points of story yet.
Hmm.
I know your AI will listen to a call and give some emotional feedback, but that's a long ways from being able to onboard new salespeople selling something complex and have the AI system drill that role play with that salesperson, play it back, give them feedback, and maybe after 12 times of trying to tell that story, now the manager finally gets a message that says, all right, Seth has now nailed that story. Now you can let him go on a sales call.
What
Because so many companies send people out before they're ready to make good sales calls, and then they lose potential customers.
Well, I mean, partly is we want to work with companies closely because each case is different, and they need to tell different stories, and there are different ways to make their stories more kind of more appealing to other people, and then there are different ways to coach these people and make it a perfect connection. So we want to work with salespeople, sales leaders, and companies, and to tailor the AI to understand each of their case very well and figure out how to have the best way to interact with their potential customers.
So there's one thing to have the AI engine to do it, and then the other thing is to teach the AI how to give the perfect feedback. And AI doesn't invent that on its own. It needs to be taught by very wise humans.
Hmm.
From human. Seth, did you have a question earlier? Or?
Well, earlier as you were talking, Mike, I was thinking about a few interactions that I've had recently with, I mean, I would call them the COVID native workforce. You know, the younger generation that didn't have the experience that we had pre-COVID of working in an office and
Yeah,
collaborating and going out and seeing every customer to have that meeting.
yeah.
A lot of folks who have experienced that have kind of gone on autopilot. You know, we meet a lot virtually, and it's very easy to get distracted. And this COVID native workforce, they see that and have not developed a lot of the same characteristics
Yeah.
that we were able to, hone our craft in front of customers and learn the hard way. But now workforces are so distributed, when we do try to train or provide sales enablement, I have yet to be at a large organization that tackles that fairly across the entire organization and also effectively. And what I mean by that is um, the entire sales force might have to go through some training and record a pitch and submit your pitch. And if you're in good graces, you're going to get a thumbs up from your manager no matter what, pretty much. But it's very subjective. It's not consistent. It's not leveraging real data to provide feedback. So
Right.
I do see where this is going, and it definitely makes sense. And I'm
It's
thinking
going to
about,
level the playing field. It's
yeah.
going to give them the reps, and one salesperson might be ready to go after 3 rehearsals. The next one might need 7 or 8 practice sessions on that story before the AI system grades them competent enough to go out and have conversations with customers. But
Mhm.
it's going to be a huge tool because training salespeople and role playing with salespeople and coaching with salespeople, most sales managers hate doing it. Most of them aren't very good at it. You know what? You know why they're not very good at it? Because why do you think they got promoted to sales manager? Because they sold the most. And the odds are, if they're the ones getting promoted, are the ones who are so good at doing it intuitively, and that means they're terrible trainers. And the way they typically manage their salespeople is saying, "I'm going to go on this call with you. Watch how I do it." That's about the extent of their training, is watch how I do it. And boy, if we can bring an end to that, I mean, I think AI is going to be a huge tool for onboarding new salespeople, giving them the practice reps individually. We don't have to make all of them do it 100 times. We only need to make a few of them do it 100 times. Let the system figure that out. Let them be like a video game. They all want to beat the video game, right? Well, let the video game be the perfect sales call their company wants them to make, and give them the practice reps on that,
Mhm.
and the feedback on why they haven't gotten there yet. To me, that's so exciting.
Yeah, I mean, the way that we're also kind of thinking about building the AI is the AI will learn from and observe and learn from all kinds of interactions between salespeople and their potential customers, and then we'll we'll feed the data in terms of which call has gone well, which call has gone badly, and then the AI can do pattern recognition to figure out like, okay, what are the common behaviors among and things, how they start the call, how they introduce themselves, and how they what kind of questions they ask, and timing, and all those, like find the pattern between the calls that has gone very well, and then the behaviors, and then the patterns between the calls that have gone not as good, and then what are the differences. And so that's kind of like one way we're thinking about how the AI can learn from these.
If the AI gets really, really good, maybe then if a rep needs to be fired, the AI will fire the rep for them, and the manager won't have to do the firing.
Right there on the spot. How are you tackling the use of or the integration of proprietary data and information? So I'm thinking in terms of my company that I work for. Um, the conversations are relatively technical. There's information we can and can't say publicly, but I would assume that this type of information is highly strategic.
Right.
Um, how do we protect that? Do you perform this workload on our within our infrastructure, or is it cloud-based? What
Yeah.
does that look like?
Good question. I mean, I have talked to bigger companies like Madonna. We asked, like, can you do things on Prime? And we are using cloud solutions right now, but even with cloud solution, we want to make sure whatever kind of proprietary and confidential within the company will not be shared out with other company and will not be used to train the public AI. But it's possible for us also to build something on Prime for a company. Now it has to be a kind of big enough initiative for us to invest the resources to do that. But
We could help you with that.
Well, the competition issue is interesting. You know how they used to solve it with me in the 80s? If they didn't want, I would say to each of my clients, they'd say to me, "Mike, we don't want you doing this training for any of our competitors." I say, I can't do that. I'll give you a year window on 3 named companies where I won't go near them for a year. Give you a jump. But but that's what they really want. They don't want their competitors being smarter than they are.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to keep all your strategic details well guarded as long as you can. But this allows us to replace traditional role playing remotely and more automated and more intuitively, and it will evolve. Does it tie in? So if we have our own internal chat agent that ties into product knowledge and other various resources within the organization, can that be leveraged and integrated into the model as well? So being able to
Yeah.
respond with technical recommendations to an objective, a technical objection.
Yes. Yeah. So you think it's a useful tool that if it's already listening in the calls and kind of being able to give insights without requiring the reps to do a lot of like taking additional time to do role play. Is that what I hear from you?
Kind of like maybe a layer of fact checking, ensuring that everything that was said is accurate
Right.
from because it's a technical sale and
Right.
people get caught
Yeah,
up in the details. Yeah,
Yes.
and you know what salespeople love to say? Oh, no problem, it'll do that,
right.
right? But then it won't. So I agree that if the AI is recording the call, I mean, one of the coolest things I've seen lately, I don't know if you're using it today, Pianpian, but you can turn on this Google note-taking thing, an AI note-taking when you do Zoom calls.
Yeah.
And then it sends you a written summary of everybody who said everything and everything. I mean, at a minimum, AI should be doing that for enterprise salespeople, just so they, and I mean, it shouldn't send it directly to the prospect, but it should break the whole process down and make that letter really easy for the sales rep to send, as well as correcting any product lies or pricing lies or anything. I mean, it would really be at some point, but I don't know how you protect all that information.
I think there's a element of post call kind of fact checked and see if someone has done things very well or give suggestion. I think sounds like Seth, you might also appreciate during the call to fact check and give them insights and answers. And yes, we have built a way to integrate kind of add resources and document data from company's side, and then making sure the AI has the knowledge and the AI can give quick answers on certain questions that customers asked and provide a quick insight. I think that's actually one of the first things you asked me when we met as well.
Mhm.
AI get know all the knowledge base and being able to provide a quick answer and insights based on that. And we have built something like that. So we you can upload it manually. We can upload it for you or add a link. We can also work with any organization to build certain integrations into their database as well.
But it's going to be custom. And guys like you, Seth, if you want these small AI companies to build custom stuff for you, you're going to have to be able to give them some money to do it. Pianpian is not a charity organization.
Nor am I. Nor am I.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this is
So
very
you kind of first have to put a value figure on. If this thing will write 80% of the salesperson's letter right after the call accurately, that's worth something to us. You got to be able to put a value on these functions so you can create a budget for it, because anytime you're selling something that has never been done well before, i.e. AI, there's no budget for it.
Yep.
And the only people and companies who can spend unbudgeted dollars are way up above the line. Typically, C-level executives only can spend unbudgeted money if they see an opportunity for the company to gain something. The vast majority of corporate managers' hands are tied by budgets. because the senior leaders say, okay, Seth, I'll let you spend $4,000 a month on expenses. Anything above that, you're going to have to come to me. In other words, they put limits and budgets on people. And when you're selling something brand new, innovative, that hasn't really been done yet before, there's no budget for it, which means the money's got to come from a pretty superior place in the organization.
I'm going to practice a question that Mike suggested. How do you see yourself using AI to increase your productivity in sales? And that's the question for everyone in the call.
Your AI fantasies.
I've done a lot of talking. I'll yield.
Renee, are you still on or are you asleep? I know it's 9 hours ahead for Renee.
Yes. No, not sleeping at all. No. It's a very lively conversation. So, Luke, yeah, go ahead.
Renee, do you have any, just off the top of your head, AI fantasies that you could see coming true in the next couple of years to improve sales productivity?
Well, look, I'm using it myself the whole day, and yeah, Mike, you talked about personas, right? So what I'm using it for all the time is identify personas, then identify their key KPIs, then so basically what's important for these personas,
right,
and adjust the story to those personas, right? So I'm letting AI doing the desk research and the preparation. So basically, and it's really interesting because look, if you say something, if you wing it, let's say, or if you say something that you've researched yourself, why would that be better than something that was researched by AI? So
right.
What I'm noticing is that my AI, let's say, generated stories are resonating better. At the same time, I'm actually using it as well to read. So this is actually, I think, one of my AI fantasies, to use communication. So I feed AI, let's say, email strings, and I let AI track how the emotion of the buyer is changing. So and then it's explaining to me, like, look, we now have advanced in the buying cycle, so the tone is more collaborative, and the goal is now more risk mitigation. So it's super subtle, but if you feed, and that's what you said, Mike, if you have very smart people feeding the AI, yeah, you get pretty cool outcomes.
Yeah. I would love it if you'd share a couple of those things with me via email sometime, Renee.
Oh, I'd be happy to. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Renee, you're using AI to track how the emotions of the buyer has changed over email. Is that what you said? Or
Correct. Yeah. Or transcribed conversations.
Okay. Yeah. So that's that's related to what we're building. So
yeah.
That's why I'm in this call.
Why do you think it's important to track the kind of changing emotions in these emails or calls?
You mean why?
Mm-hmm.
Well, look, I think we in calls or in emails, there is less non-verbal, right? No non-verbals, but subtle wording. Actually, it's harder for a human, I think, to pick up subtle wording than for AI in written communication. So it helps me to, for example, confirm if I have a hunch. Like, wait a minute, it feels a little bit like something is changing here. What's changing? Feels like the tone or the emotion is changing. And then AI can actually, analyze all these little words, all these little written words, and say, yeah, look, the customer is using slightly different wording, or shorter sentences, or more, more focused on a solution. So it can pinpoint actually what is going on.
Well, I'd like to build on that for a second, Renee. You probably don't know, but my wife is a couples therapist, and one of the one of the things that one of the main problems of fights between couples is the tone of voice. It's
Yes.
I can
not what
imagine.
they said; it's the tone
How
of
you
voice,
said it.
right? It's the
Yeah.
way you said it with the intensity
Yeah,
or
yeah,
the
yeah,
energy
yeah.
or whatever. And I'm really looking forward to AI starting to pick up the tone of voice stuff as well.
Uh,
Yeah.
what do you think of the idea of AI can do that, give the feedback or analyze the change of emotions as the conversation's going on, instead of until after the call to detect the change of emotions?